Morning, morning, morning. Morning, all. Morning, Roxanne. Thank you so much. Good to be back. Even though I still think my vacation was a little too short, but this is a traveling year, so it's all right. Morning, Aline. Oriagani, morning. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning. Alison Rogers, morning to you. Neil Francois, always present. Morning, Sir. J. Dimples, 66, morning. Margaret Thomas, morning. Earl Turpin, morning. Morning, Diane. Ruth Fanton, morning. Laverne Brown, good morning. Good morning to His Excellency, President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, First Lady, Mauricia Kagan, Kenneth Gabriel, morning. Alison Boyce, Dawn Joseph, good morning to all of you guys. Althea, morning. Marlene Pantin, morning. Cyril Mayas, good morning, sir. And Niles Natalie F, good morning to all of you. Morning, Joy. Alison Samuel, morning, Alison. Thank you so much. Jefferson Clark, morning. Roxanne said, as much as we know you need your time out, we miss you. Thank you so much, Roxanne. Rukmin Gangadine, morning. Rukmin Joy George, morning. Jennifer Ferran, morning. Angela Madu. I did try to do a live, at least one, but those folks, staying out late in the night, waking up late, and then when you head out, this whole day, you're out. So, yeah, the only time I get into rest is a few hours in the morning, and then, well, that was daylight savings time, so 1 hour behind. Yeah. Patricia Lazari, morning. Phyllis Antoine, Adriana Alexis, Laverne. Laverne says next time come see the cherry blossom in DC. DC is definitely on my bucket list of places to visit, Laverne. So, looking forward to that. Just to get people to go with. So many places I want to go, but yeah, I can't go by myself. Maria Lyons, morning. Annette Baird, morning. Lisa Atwater, Hillbench, morning to you guys. Claudette Jeffrey, Denise Coggins, morning to all of you. Morning to Mr. Chance, Mr. Yates, morning, morning, Brian, Jenny, Mr. Bleak. Let's see this here. Actually, it's already 6:39, so let me get into it.
All supposed to be targeted. Yeah, KFC is just one stop.
Yesterday was a day to rest. Still didn't finish it. Right, so let me start off with this one, right? I don't know, it seems as always when I travel is when some of the most interesting things take place in Trinidad. Never a dull moment.
So you've decided to boycott.
Right. Disconnect. Just give me 1 second. Let me just connect this thing here. Right.
So you've decided to boycott KFC. But what if I told you that you was boycotting KFC the wrong way? Well, let's do a little role playing here. So this is Jenny. And Jenny is somebody who lives on the Upper George Street, a short distance away from KFC Charlotte Street. Now, Jenny is a person who lives in her community, right? And grew up in her community all her life. But there's a catch. Jenny gets to notice that a lot of people from her community just go to KFC every day. So Jenny decides to start selling wings and fries and breastbone and fries in her community. Now, because Jenny starts doing that, the community now decides that they're no longer going to go to KFC as much anymore. Because when they come to Jenny, they could now get a box of chicken for a bit less. If they're short a couple dollars, Jenny will give it to them still. Or they could even trust a meal because Jenny's from the community. Because Jenny's also from the community, if Jenny happens to see children in the community, probably missing a pencil or missing a book from their bag, Jenny would give the children in her community it because why? Jenny is from the community. Something that KFC would never do. They would never come into your community and help you. But this is where we have a problem and where things get bad. Because you see, when Jenny starts to make a little money, Jenny decides to upgrade her business. Jenny buys a car, not a new car, an old car, but just for the ability that she can now transport more wings and more fries to her business. And that's where the problem starts. Because you see, when Jenny does that, the minute she does that, people in the community notice the upgrade she makes, and then you start to hear lines like this. Jenny's getting rich off of our money. Jenny is growing off of our money. We need to do something about this. So you know what you all do? You all decide that you all are going to boycott Jenny. Boycott Jenny's wings and fries, her punch, her snacks, whatever she's selling to grow. You all decide you're all going to boycott that. And you all are going to go back to KFC. And then when you all do that, KFC announces that they made $1.something billion or $1 million in profits. So you boycott Jenny because Jenny bought one car, not even a new car, old car, and you put your money back into KFC where they could buy hundreds of new Mercedes-Benz and Porsches for their friends and their family. And that is the problem with us. The problem with us is we don't understand financial freedom, we don't understand financial networking, and we don't understand business. And we don't believe in supporting our own. And this is why I'm going to tell you all that what you all are doing, boycotting KFC, that is the wrong method. You don't boycott KFC. When KFC makes a post that they made profits, look at what the top saying is. It says Prestige Holding yields profits of so. That's who you're supposed to be targeting. KFC is just one company under a parent company of several brands. You all need to be boycotting KFC, Subway, Pizza Hut, and every other thing that comes out of Prestige Holding, because Prestige Holding is the brand. They control those things. You want to send a clear message to them? You're not sending any message to KFC. Send it to Prestige Holding that you all are fed up of their scummy business practices. And that is what we need to do with all the other corporate companies in Trinidad and Tobago. Because if you all were to look up Anheuser Busch is responsible for Bud Light. Last year, a trans influencer by the name of Dylan Mulvaney, right, threw some shots at the citizens of America who drink Bud Light. And they decided that they were going on a boycott, a massive boycott. And they've been boycotting Bud Light from since last year now, right, to this present time. And the boycott has been working. Budweiser and Bud Light, which was the #1 beer in America, is now the third #1 beer in America. Because here it is, the boycott crashed their stocks. If you were to go and look up Chipotle right now, Chipotle is also being boycotted because of the fact that they had a situation where a worker misgendered another worker and he was suspended for it. The nation decided to rise behind the worker, and right now Chipotle's stocks is actually in the ground because of the boycott. You all want to send a message to Prestige Holding? Boycott everything. Boycott the Pizza Hut, the Subway, the KFC, the Starbucks, and of course, we know it have rich people who not gonna care, even if the boycott could benefit them and they'll still go buy. But you all have to understand this. The #1 consumers is we the poor people on the ground. And we need to support our own. And with that, I could segue into this promotional video. You see this beautiful t-shirt I have on here? Authentic Kings, Own Fashion Lines. It is time we, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, come together and start to support our local content creators, our local people, and our local businesses. There are many pizza businesses out there, so you don't need to go to Pizza Hut anymore. You have Shimala's Pizza, you have Mearup Pizza Parlor, you have the Boys and Them Pizza, you have Brothers Pizza, you have Bukhara Pizza. There are so many companies coming up now selling better pizza than Pizza Hut and these other places. You don't need KFC from them. You have Friday's fried chicken. You have Hunty's wings and fries. There are several other places selling chicken and chips that you are getting larger portions that you could feed 2 or 3 people with. We need to start boycotting these businesses and staying away from them. And I guarantee you that if you all come together and boycott Prestige Holding, we could genuinely make a difference. So make a better version of yourself, Trinidad and Tobago. Ayo.
Right. So that's our profile goes by the name The Opinion Box. This is a gentleman who normally has opinions on a number of things. I've listened to 1 or 2 of his videos in the past. Sometimes he makes some sense, but I will say on this instance, in this occasion, he's gotten it wholly wrong, right? But I saw it fit to play that if only because that has, let me see, that was posted 12 hours ago, and so far it's garnered 17,300 views, and it was shared 451 times. So it says to me at least 451 people support or agree with what it is that he is saying, right? So the only thing that he said that to my mind that is I would support or is correct is that some people don't understand business and how to make money. Because while he's advocating that you should boycott Prestige Holdings, not just KFC, but all the brands under Prestige Holdings and support small businesses, you could do both. You could support Prestige Holdings and the small business owners as well. But this advocacy for you to boycott Prestige Holdings altogether does not take into account or ignores the fact that Prestige Holdings is a significant employer. Prestige Holdings hires thousands of persons across the different brands that they represent in this country. Yes, they are all foreign brands, but nevertheless, they hire workers. For every worker that Prestige Holdings hires, they have to pay NIS, of which Prestige Holdings pays 2/3 and the employee pays 1/3. All of these monies that we need for national insurance. We've been hearing for years that the National Insurance Fund is in jeopardy, that they are paying out more in benefits than they are collecting in contributions, which threatens the long-term viability of the fund. So for those persons who are looking forward to getting the NIS pension, particularly some of the younger persons who might be in their 30s and their 40s contributing and telling themselves, well, when I reach 60, at least I could guarantee I have at least a $3,000 pension to support my income. When I get to that age, it is in jeopardy. And here it is that we have people who are advocating, boycott Prestige, boycott Prestige. Don't support them, stop spending your money there, go elsewhere. He starts off with an example of a young lady by the name of Jenny, living on George Street or whatever it is, or I don't know, I can't remember, somewhere, and just a stone's throw away from KFC Charlotte Street, and then she decides to start selling wings and fries, and you should go and support her. Okay, does Jenny pay NIS? How many people does Jenny hire? More than likely, Jenny is going to want to maximize her profits, and therefore, she is probably not going to hire anybody. Or if she does, it might be a family member or 2. But certainly, she's not a limited liability company. She's self-employed, so she's not even paying NIS for herself. Prestige Holdings is. Prestige Holdings pays taxes, millions of dollars in taxes every year across the brand. And it's not just Prestige Holdings. You also have Vemco and you have Agostini's. All of that is part of that whole group. So aside from providing employment, they also pay taxes, they contribute to national insurance. And he said something there, well, that Jenny, when she's making money, and if it is in the community, she see a child who needs a pencil or a pen or some book missing from their bag, she could contribute because she lives in the community, and KFC doesn't do that. That is wholly incorrect. Wholly incorrect. Prestige Holdings, in fact, does sponsor a number of things, but they don't make it a point to come and advertise and take out a whole whole full-page ad in the newspaper to say, we sponsor this and we sponsor that. A lot of times, if you go on at sometimes different public events, and you will see the KFC banner up there, or the Prestige Holdings banner indicated that they would have sponsored I mentioned to you the last time I discussed this before I left for my trip, that the Hunters Association, those guys who go out every time somebody is missing and they go to look for the person, more often than not, you would see it is KFC who provides these guys with free meals when they out there day after day looking for people. How many times have they posted up pictures and videos of KFC providing them with free meals? You ever see Royal Castle doing that? You ever see any of these smaller businesses doing that to say, well, let's do it for one day or something? No. Prestige Holdings does that. Right now, all who applauding the boycott, yes, we're doing well as a nation. We need to come together. Everything has come together. And we need to boycott. Why? Because it's owned by the 1%. And again, I made the point, Prestige Holdings is a public company traded on the stock exchange. If you want, instead of looking at Prestige Holdings profits and want to decry the owners and the 1% and the rich getting richer, you could share in the profits too. Just go open a brokerage account, as I told you all before, and purchase Prestige Holdings shares. Is about $10.15 for one share. If it is that you can afford to spend $100 and something to buy a mega meal and all these kind of things, work out how many shares is that you could have purchased with that same money and partake in the profits. So the next time you see Prestige Holdings post in the newspapers how much profits they make, you could smile because you know you have a dividend check coming your way every 6 months. But he wouldn't talk about that in the video to encourage people to do that. To diversify your portfolio instead of, I said before, putting your money only in the bank and in the credit union and in Susu. Invest some of your money in stocks. It's time they start encouraging people to do that, because when the price of the shares go up, you could also benefit from that through capital appreciation. But we ain't talking that. Boycott Prestige Holdings. I see this clown in Shan Ishmael. Every day he going around to different KFC outlets to do a video encouraging people to send in pictures of KFC outlets that empty. And he proud of that. Imagine you as a businessman taking pride and joy in seeing another businessman's business boycotted. When you were crying the other day, when you went to court, lie to the court and say that as a result of calls to boycott your business because of the lawsuit against Croker and because of what Croker sang in his song, your business lost about $100,000 a month. Right? You know, if that were true, but based on what he said subsequently, that every time they call for a boycott of his business, there's more business he gets. But if it were true, you should understand the impact, right? Prestige Holdings hires plenty more people than ROC and Brilliant and whatever other business, Ronix or whatever other business he has. A lot more people than he hires. But yet still, you're advocating for what? For a $1 or $2 increase in the price? And I'm seeing some ridiculous things about people talking, yeah, well, the customer service poor, and there's only now the customer service poor. You're complaining you're no longer able to put how much ketchup and mustard that you want and pepper sauce. So whereas before COVID, you could have gone and when you get your box, you go and you drown the chicken and the fries in ketchup, wasting it, unnecessary. Now because they're giving you the small packets, you're vexed. That is not enough. Well, go home and eat your KFC. Where you have all the ketchup and mustard home, you don't need to eat it there. You're in the office, all you come together, and if it is you all always buying KFC, buy some mustard and ketchup and put it in the fridge and you could drown it there. But in the US, where KFC was born, the same 3-piece, a side and a drink is $9.69 US in Florida, right? $9.69 or approximately $66 TT. It's $14 cheaper in Trinidad. But as I said before, the same people who complain and they think they increase it for $1 and $2, they're too wicked, will go to the US, feeling for a box of dead, and will pay the $9.69 and get the same small packets of ketchup and mustard and whatever. Same thing, and pay $66 US for it. Because you know we're in the US. So that's the price, you're paying it, you ain't care. But in Trinidad here, you have a problem with it. When you buy it outside, how is your country benefiting? Prestige Holdings could have gone the other way and said, well, yeah, what? If it is, it's impacting our profits. Here's what we could do. We could close down a couple outlets, look to see which of the outlets underperforming and shut them down and send home all of those employees, right? So that's less salaries we have to pay, and we maximize the profits that we're making on the other outlets, the more popular outlets, we upgrade them. So if it is people desperately want KFC, so we keep the prices low, and therefore people will come and buy, but they will have to go to the nearest KFC outlet, or they could call for delivery. They could have done that, but they chose to go the other way to increase by $1 or $2. So that way they could continue to hire people. I made the point before. What is Prestige Holdings doing with respect to their restaurants? They're actually building more restaurants. They're not looking to go and rent a space in a mall. They're building their own restaurants. And of course, that creates employment with respect to construction. Prestige Holdings also advertises. So when they advertise with whichever advertising company they are with, they create employment for the employees of this advertising agency, right? Across the board, they buy stuff from local farmers with respect to the lettuce and so on for some of their products. So they purchase from the local farmers as well. But all of these things we're not talking about. Let me just read something here, right? So it's like they want to give you the impression that Prestige Holdings don't give back. Schools, clubs, leadership academy, an experiential learning program to empower leaders of clubs and organizations of secondary schools in Trinidad and Tobago. At a time when secondary schools appear to be under siege with the fighting and the stabbings and all of these things within recent times. On the 24th of February 2024, student leaders from 6 schools participated in the inaugural Leadership Academy delivered by the CIC Past Students Union. The final of 3 events focused on club finance, fundraising, and change and crisis management. Club leaders learned how to budget for their clubs and innovative ways to fundraise. They also enjoyed an entertaining crisis management simulation. The workshops featured the CEO of the Heroes Foundation, Lawrence Arjun, as well as the CIC Film Studio, whose innovative Rethink University podcast raised more than $30,000 for their club. Special thanks to the administration of Maple Leaf International School, who hosted this module, our facilitators, and our sponsor, KFC. KFC is the sponsor, right? But look at all of these things that these students from 6 schools learned. Crisis and change management, club finance, fundraising. So these things that they learned is not just for while they're in school. When they leave school, they would have these skills that they would have learned from this initiative that they could take with them in their adult lives and contribute to other organizations, right? Change and crisis management. That is something very critical that we need in schools now. Who sponsored it? KFC. And they didn't sponsor it by providing meals, right? They would have provided cash, money, which would have impacted, of course, on their profits. Yes, they could write it off for tax purposes, but nevertheless, they give. And KFC continues to do that. This is not the only initiative that they have sponsored. But as I said before, they don't feel the need to take out a whole full-page ad in the newspaper to tell the world that, look, we sponsored this or we sponsored that. There's so many different things that they sponsor. The money that they would waste to take out a full-page ad, it doesn't really give back. Look at how much money Inshan Ishmael mentioned that he was getting just from them advertising on one of the billboards at Baraka Grounds. I think he said it was some $20-something thousand in advertising. So his business was benefiting, right? Baraka, wherever it is, was benefiting from KFC advertising. And he decided that he's supporting the boycott. And therefore, he is not going to continue. He's going to tell KFC, we're not accepting any more ads from you. What was the whole point of this boycott? I am still lost. It cannot be because of an increase in ad by $1 or $2 for a couple of the more popular meals. I can't understand that. Because they didn't increase the price on all of the menu items. It was perhaps 1 or 2 of the more popular ones that they would have got increased by. So we want KFC, Prestige Holdings to maintain their prices. Don't increase it. But increase your workers' salaries. How? Revenue comes from sales, right? So you're saying, they're talking about how much profits they make and profits they make. The profits does not only belong to the owners of the company. It belongs to the shareholders who are in themselves part owners of the company as well. And it could be any citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Because when you go to the brokerage house and you say, I want to buy Prestige Holdings shares, they don't say, nah, your skin too dark. Nah, your hair texture is wrong. Nah, you're not a member of the 1%, so you can't buy. You have the money, bring it. Right? Then we find somebody who holding shares who willing to sell because they're looking to make some money. You're in luck. We have some shares just came on the market. Right. You are now a shareholder in Prestige Holdings. So any profits that they make from KFC, Starbucks, Pizza Hut, TGI Fridays, presto, hey, look, you sharing in that. That is what we should be encouraging people to do. But no, let me boycott and boycott and boycott, as if that really making any sense. The delivery drivers, the KFC, some of these guys who do delivery services part-time for KFC, so they could make a little extra kakada to pay some of the bills. So they have their full-time job. They work from 8 to 4. And then when they finish working from 5 to whatever time till KFC close, they go in and they're doing deliveries. How many times have these guys risked their lives? They hear they get robbed, right? People ordering KFC and then when they go to deliver, they're robbing the guys. But they put their lives on the line to come and deliver for you. So when you feel that box are dead 10 o'clock in the night and you don't want to leave your house, you make a call and they bring it. These guys make extra money, not just from the salary or the extra wages that they make from doing deliveries, but sometimes they may get a little tip or two that helps them to be able to put food on the table and to pay bills and stay out of a life of crime. But when it is you advocating boycott, and nobody in buying, when these guys come to work at 5 o'clock, what are they doing? They sit down in the restaurant, nothing to do, no tips. And they studying that, boy, things hard enough, boy. No, there are no deliveries there, girl? Nah, boy, nothing. So they come and they sit down whole night and they probably get 2 delivery orders. Where the tips coming from? So you advocated. And who it is? Who are the delivery drivers? The 1%? It's people who look like you and who look like me who are doing these jobs, right? Because it's a means to an end for them. So calling for this boycott, who are the people? Let us not forget, for months during COVID, all Prestige Holdings restaurants were closed. All. But yet still they continue to maintain to pay their workers, even though they cut the salary, but still they were ensuring that the workers were still getting a little something. They could have said, well, the restaurants closed and we're making no money, so we're not paying anybody any salaries. You could have faulted them for that, but no. They still continue to give their workers things like they put together boxes with, I think, chicken and stuff and to help out some of the employees, as it was reported. But we're studying that. We're not talking about those things. We forget about that. Boycott, because KFC, why? Because it's 1%. And we have been cultured over the last couple of years to hate the 1% for whatever reason. But if the 1% community, which is typically defined as the Syrian Lebanese community, would say, you know what? We fed up with this nonsense. Right? We're packing up our businesses and we leaving the country. You know how many unemployed people you would have? And not just people at the lower end of the rung, right? Because guess what? Prestige Holdings has people who working for the parent company at senior managerial positions, persons that look like you and me, who making big money, big salaries, right? I personally know one, the most recent CFO for Agostini. Looks like me and you. Well, looks like me, right? He left his job. I ain't gonna say where he left his job to go to the company. But where he was working before was a big energy company. And he was making, so for him to leave there, to go to there, tells you certainly he's making a lot more money. So it doesn't only, while we only want to focus on the restaurants, understand that there are persons who have African descent, since all they want to make it about that, who making big money working in managerial positions in these companies, right? He talked about when it is that you're supporting Prestige and you're boycotting these small businesses that you're giving, making Prestige make ton of profits so they could buy hundreds of Mercedes Benz and so on for their friends and family. Christian Mute drives a 10-year-old Mercedes, a 2014 Mercedes Benz, which I saw was recently put up for sale, right? So it means that he hasn't purchased a Mercedes in at least 10 years. No, he has another car, he has an Audi, right? Q5, but yeah. A 10-year-old Mercedes, probably now looking to upgrade. Because he's not about that. He's not about the vehicle doesn't matter. It's not about the flam. He is offering something that could allow any citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, regardless of race, creed, color, class, to participate in and make some money. But we call it a boycott and boycott. That's not making no sense. It makes no sense. Where is the incentive for them to continue to open more restaurants? As I said, there is ample opportunity for these guys to take the capital and go to Guyana. They recently opened, Prestige Holdings recently opened the first Starbucks in Guyana, and based on reports, it's doing far better than they had planned. So they intend to open more Starbucks outlets in Guyana. So if it is Trinidad want to be difficult and we want to engage in foolishness, well then no problem. They can say, well, here what? We're not investing any more money in Trinidad and Tobago. We'll just go to Ghana where they have opportunities and we'll carry the brands there and make the money there. So they're not losing out anything. We will lose out. The country's coffers will suffer because of reduction in taxes, less taxes being paid, less NIS being paid, because whereas they could open 3, 4, 5 more restaurants and hire more people, there's opportunity for upward movement in management. Even if you get some skills, they make you a supervisor or a manager in any of these restaurants. While the average citizen might look at it as being a lowly thing. The experience that you gain from this management position, you could now, when you decide to move on, go to another entity and you could put on your resume that you have management experience. You are manager at this particular outlet of KFC. So they know at least you have the basic skills. But all of these things we're looking at, right? Anyway, I didn't get the opportunity last night to look at the Monday Night Forum. I tried. Unfortunately, I don't know if it is they blocked me. I mean, I don't normally comment. I've commented a few times on the Monday Night Forum when they really boring and ridiculous. Some of the things that the speaker would have been saying. I know the last time I listened, I have a tendency to drop little nuggets, depending on who the speaker is. And if it is his rank hypocrisy, I'll pull up an article highlighting the hypocrisy of this person. So when it is that I hear Barry Padarat talking about corruption and all of this kind of thing, I would just pull up the article from 2020, which says that he and family members are under police probe for certain potential or alleged financial indiscretion. Julie John, I will pull up the article about when she testified in the Commission of Inquiry to the airport. Rural Munilal, and he wants to come and talk about corruption and so on. Pull up the article referencing him with respect to the EMBD matter and so on. I'll just drop it there in the comments, but like they don't like that. So I don't know, it seems like they probably blocked me because I tried to access their Facebook page, I couldn't. So I don't know, but I understand that in the comments, they were mentioning my name, claiming that I was Mako in the Monday Night Forum. I tried, but I couldn't. So somebody sent me a clip of Mrs. Pasal Bisessa. It's a short clip. Let's see if I get this here. So let me get this here.
I'm sure you've noticed the election ritual of this present government. They've started that ritual again. The Prime Minister said that general elections will be held soon. But you know he lies, so they really told you how many times he's lied, and you all remember yourself. So whenever you call it, Prime Minister, we are ready tonight to announce. I announce the UNC will close nominations for the general election 30th April. Mark the date. And we will begin screening in May of this year. Are you ready? Are you ready? So they have been, the PNM on general election footing since when? They're forever general election, screening and footing. So the campaign is now in full swing.
Right. So they're closing off, according to her, they're closing off nominations on 30th of April, and then they will begin screening in the month of May. But it wouldn't be the first time we've heard her say something like that. So we'll see how that goes. But she said the Prime Minister is lying. This is the woman who told us that the government was bringing an inheritance tax. Ask her where she got that information from. She's not going to reveal her sources. Right? Despite the fact the government says that is untrue, there's no such thing. We weren't considering any such thing, but she come and say that. Pull that out of her hat. But the Prime Minister is lying. This is the same woman who told us a few months ago that the government increased the price of flour by 33% last week. You can believe that, man? 33% Rowley increased the price of flour by. Really? And then the following week, the price of flour dropped by between 13 to 15%. Again, exposing her as an inveterate liar. This is the same woman who promised fixed term for Prime Minister, term limits, 2 terms and you're out. This is the same woman who promised when she was Prime Minister that you would have fixed dates for election. No longer would the Prime Minister be able to pull the election date out of his back pocket or his Forbes. This is the woman who promised recall legislation. So if it is your MP playing up in their monthly salary, you could gather enough names, you could get rid of them. Right? This is the same woman who promised the people of Labre a shipbuilding facility to replace the smelter plant, which she cancelled. All of these different things never happened. But Dr. Rowley is a liar. And yeah, Dr. Rowley is a liar. Okay, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. Yeah, there's the same woman who told us for 10 years she and Greg scrimping and scraping to build a house. Every time they make a little money, they buy some blocks, they buy some cement, and they put it down. 10 years, a doctor and a lawyer, two of the most high-income earning professions. So if you're good at your craft. For 10 years, they couldn't build a house. And as soon as she became prime minister, within 6 months, house finished and it grew. Yeah, but you come and bring out a book, two old notebook with some dog ears and some old bent-up pages to tell us, look, you see, this is where we had put on this and put on that. Right. This is the same woman who stayed by the home of her friends when she became prime minister. And then they got a $40 million contract to transport fuel. She said, I didn't know anything about that. They never mentioned to me that they were applying or that they had bid on a contract and so on. That conversation never came up. And we're supposed to believe that. But anyway, so they're expecting a snap election. They expect Dr. Rowley to call a snap election. Okay, we've been hearing that since 2015. After they lost the general election, remember they came and they said, Munilal told the supporters, keep all your jerseys primed and ready because we will be returning to the polls shortly. This is an illegitimate government. They're not going to last 2 years. They're not going to last 3 years. We'll be going back to general election to the polls soon. So keep your jerseys ready. Here we are almost 9 years later. 9 years later, this government that wasn't supposed to last for 2 years has survived for almost 9 years, going into 10 years. Right? So that is their strategy. So they will close off nominations by the 30th of April and they will begin screening in the month of May. Now she said they will begin screening. Yeah? So don't be surprised if that screening exercise take a whole year to complete. She said they will begin. She didn't say when they will end screening. But the thing about it is, if it is that they do in fact follow through on that, Prasad Bisesa really is holding on for dear life with respect to her position as a political leader. Because we understand now that she is facing internal challenge from Rushton Parry. And the only way to neutralize these internal challenges, of course, would be to begin screening for certain seats and get rid of your challenger. So I would not be surprised if Rushton Parry loses his position as the candidate for the Mayaro seat. And I would not be surprised if Dinesh Rambali loses his, is no longer the candidate for Shogunas West. Because as I told you all before, Shogunas West was promised to a certain individual to come back into the fold, to assist them, to assist them. Come back and take that seat. Giving it a safe seat? Yes. And you'll come and bring your money with you, whatever little money you have left, and support the party. So Dinesh might be on his way out, and Rushton Parry too might be on his way out. But what I find instructive, let me see if I find it here. Where is it? No, there's not what I'm looking for. This thing is. All right, let me just get this here. I had this saved, Right. So, Parry, UNC needs fresh executive to tackle the PNM. Let me get this here. UNC chairman Dave Tanku says anyone can aspire to be prime minister or UNC leader. But members must never allow the PNM to distract us and divide us, especially now, after word of a general election due sometime soon. Tanku commented yesterday on recent issues where the UNC had been spotlighted, the latest including increased signals by UNC Mayaro MP Rushton Parry of his interest in the party's leadership post, and Parry's view that members want an opportunity to refresh the national executive. Parry, who has been the MP for Mayaro since 2015, aired those views in a Power 102 FM interview. UNC's leadership term is up in 2025. Traditionally, the party retains the leader and executive it has when entering an election year in order to prevent the party from being divided and fighting political opponents. UNC's NATEX term is up in June, officials said recently. Parry did not answer Guardian Media's calls or texted queries yesterday, but in his radio comments, Parry claimed the UNC's membership really wants to have an opportunity to refresh or reset in terms of the UNC's NATEX. He said that meant we need the best version of the UNC to take the PNM head on in 2025. And there must be an opportunity for the party to decide whether we're at the best version of ourselves now, or we need a new team to give us the best version. Parry said he was not surprised people or constituents or the membership felt he had something of value to offer in providing guidance and leadership at the end of the day, and the membership will decide when that time comes. On what he wants, Parry said, I don't think there's a police constable who joins the TTPS who doesn't want to be police commissioner. Parry's comments were circulated on social media and was promoted by some members asking if people would support him for leader. The UNC leader, Prasad Bisesa, didn't respond to texted queries on Parry's comments, nor did the UNC deputy leaders Rudal Munilal, David Lee, or Jillian John. But Chairman Tanku said some of us have worked 30 plus years to build a strong, resilient party that will allow any citizen who shares the same philosophy of patriotic unity for national development to join and aspire. Ours is a democratic party in a democratic country. Oh, really? But I thought you all said that there is a dictatorship. So you change your tune? We are a democracy now? Anyone can aspire to be Prime Minister or UNC leader. In fact, many have and will continue to so do. That's the essence of democracy. However, we must never allow the PNM to distract us and divide us, especially after word of an election due sometime soon. What the PNM had to do with that? If all they have all the internal fighting that have nothing to do with the PNM, everything follows always the PNM. David Lee get charged for fraud and misbehavior in public office. First thing he looked to say, the PNM at its best. Always calling up the PNM name and all the stupidness. Leave the PNM out of that. The work of thousands over the decades to build a united party makes it attractive now to many. We didn't get here without strong leadership and dedicated patriots, many of whom simply want a better TNT. Right. Okay. Parry's recent statements were his latest on the UNC's leadership. After Prasad Bisesa's recent statements about members being treated like sheep in the Basdio Pandey period, Parry called for people to stand up to those who mocked Pandey. Prasad Bisesa subsequently said she never mocked Pandey and loved him as a guru. She said general election nominations are closing in a while, and as expected, some who did no work were looking for trivial non-issues to improve their prospects. Right. So is she saying that Parry did no work? So therefore, it seems that Rushton may be heading to the guillotine, right, to have his head chopped off. So he may not be going up for the UNC. Now understand why he's speaking out now. Because if in fact that he suspects that he is going to be beheaded, that he is going to lose that seat, that he would not be selected in the upcoming screening, then he would come out now so that when his head is chopped off, he could say, you see, there is no democracy in this party. Simply because I spoke out and decided to offer myself for leadership, they decided to get rid of me. So he taken in front before, as they say, in front take him. But you see, Prasad Bisesa, she kind of smart. Because if it is that they have screening in May, June, thereabouts, the internal election is supposed to take place sometime June, July for a new executive. Right? These are the same people who like to talk about Rowley's a dictator. I remember last year, call the election, call the election. You're only running from election, you're hiding from the election. But why it is you all hiding from the election in your own party? Talking about, well, we're heading into a general election and therefore we need to postpone the internals. Who did you consult for that? You have many members of your party saying, no, we want to have the internal election. But you see, again, the leadership election, as I say, is due next year. But the NATEX election is due this year. Prasad Bisesa will never face the leadership polls on her own. So she will postpone it in any event so that the two, NATEX and leadership, could coincide. So that way she could present a slate and win on that basis. But she knows if it is that it's just her alone, even though the sheep in that party may still very well support her, notwithstanding the fact that she is the her track record as a serial loser is unprecedented. No other political leader in this country of a major party has ever suffered as many losses and defeats as Kamala Persad-Bissessar has. No other prime minister ever suffered the amount of defeats that she suffered. Just 3 years after becoming prime minister, they suffered a significant defeat. The THA polls, while your party held the 2 seats in Tobago. Right? While your party held the 2 seats in Tobago, they suffered 12-0. And then subsequent to that, you had the by-election in Chaguanas West, you lost that. You had the by-election in St. Joseph, you lost that. You had the local government elections in October 2013, you lost that. 3 years after you came into office, and you'd have us believe you were the best prime minister, but the supporters of your party would have us believe that was the best prime minister ever. 3 years into office, suffered all those losses in the space of 1 year. Really? Which other prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago ever could claim that? None. So when you all want to talk about track record, right? And track record, that is a track record for you all to talk about with respect to your leader. The most amount of losses of any political leader in this country's history belongs to Kamala Persad-Bissessar. But keep her right there. Keep her right there, because right now she's fighting for their life. So things are about to get heated, or more heated in that party. But what did you just say? Fresh leadership, a fresh executive, which means needs to go, Monilal needs to go, Lee needs to go, Ravi Rachiram needs to go, Saddam Hussein, the whole Natex, the entire executive. This is what he's telling you. None of them are good. This is not the best version of the UNC leadership. That is what he is telling you. And if somebody who is in the belly of the beast is telling you that the current leadership of the UNC is unacceptable, not just to the membership of the party, but to the country on a whole, and they need to go for the rest of us. So he's telling not even good enough to run the party, but they're good enough to run the government and to run Trinidad and Tobago? Really? This is not the PNM telling you this. This is not Keith Rowley saying this. This is somebody from the UNC. This is a member of parliament from the UNC telling you this. Right? A member of the parliament under the UNC is telling you that the leadership of my party, no damn good. They're not good to run the party. They cannot fight the PNM. You need fresh faces, new people. So again, you can't run. He is telling you they're not even good for the blasted party, but they would have us believe they're good for the country. Something had to be wrong with it, and people advocating that. Yes, get rid of the PNM. The PNM had to go, and the PNM had to go. The alternative to the PNM is what? Chaos and confusion, and we see that all the time. All the time. And Parry isn't the only person who's telling you this. You have a number of UNC pages that are pro-UNC telling you, hey, Kamala needs to go. The current leadership of the party needs to go. How can you have a deputy political leader who is on charges, $1 million bail for fraud and misbehavior in public office, but you want to be holding crime talks? You want to come and talk, you have the answer to crime? Meanwhile, you have members of parliament on the opposition bench who are the subject of police investigations, persons who are before the courts, civil cases, criminal cases, and all they want to be hosting crime talks. Yeah, we want to boycott KFC. Why are you not boycotting the crime talks? All you're going to the crime talks in droves to listen to what? Criminals? Tell you how well, who knows better about crime than criminals? Right? This is a woman who gave only a cock and bull story as to why her bag handler, her purse total, gave her 2 checks totaling $135,000 and all you buy that hook, line, and sinker. Well, not you guys. The UNC supporters. Buy that hook, line, and sinker. They take that. They want to tell you about, Champa Kojo and 59,000 and Daryl Smith, right? And Camille, but 135,000. Cock and bull story. Padarat can't remember where he gave her the money for. She come and give her some cock and bull story. And her supporters running down that. And yeah, let me boycott. $789 million in housing that was supposed to have been built under them. 2013 cannot be found. Not one man from the UNC has come forward to speak on that issue since it was made public by the Minister of Housing in October last year. We are in March. 6 months now, not one word. The leader, the then Prime Minister, had nothing to say about it. The Minister of Housing has nothing to say about it. The head of HDC at the time has nothing to say about it. No comment whatsoever. $789 million. But the supporters talking about boycott, and we need to come together and get rid of the PNM. Well, they had plenty to say about 100 million A vigilant. $789 million in housing. We can't find the houses or the money. But all ain't talking boycott that. No. Let us support more of that foolishness. And then we all wonder why it is people not gravitating to your party. You wonder why it is that your numbers remains the same. But always like to talk about PNM supporters as Balize juice, drinking Balize juice, and they dotish, and they everybody tell them the sky is purple and it's blue, they will say it's purple. That is the reason why. Because when issues like that come to the fore, they're suffering from cataract and glaucoma, right? You don't see corruption under the UNC. It's PNM lie, and that is PNM propaganda. Ask the members of your party why haven't any one of them addressed that. Even those who are aspiring to leadership, those who were not part of that administration but who want to be leaders now, ask them why it is they're not talking about that. Make it a campaign issue, accountability. We're talking about public monies, taxpayer money. None of them talking about it. They leave that so, right? And 9-day wonder. And hopefully everybody will forget. Forget about the 175 million that they pay for Eden Gardens that was valued at 52 million. Forget about that. Forget about the 300 and something million dollars that they spent on the old Massey warehouse in Santa Rosa to create the Eastern Correctional Facility so that they could house the little black boys that they lock up under the state of emergency. Forget that. Yes, we ain't boycotting that. We want them to come back and do more of that. So they could give all a food card and baby grant $500 a month to make child while they thiefing the majority, right? They thiefing the largest. But they thief, but they do. Yeah, they paving a road. Meanwhile, this administration is doing things that is not being advertised. Well, not enough. So I saw yesterday they had this turning ceremony for the new headquarters of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, which is to be constructed on a piece of land situated at the corner of, I believe it is Victoria Avenue and Trafford Road, where the old printry used to be, right? Opposite, yeah. Yeah, right? So yet another building this government is going to construct for, right? Government owned. So we recently completed Ministry of Health headquarters around the Savannah, government owned. So they're no longer paying rent to the so-called 1% that all they don't like on Park Street for that building. They're no longer paying rent there. Right? The $8 to $10 million a year that they were paying in rent. Own facility. So that is about $8 to $10 million less going into the pockets of the 1% that they like to tell you, Rowley and the PNM only care about the 1% and they only want to make the rich richer. How many buildings did Kamala Prasad Bisesa build while she was Prime Minister? To reduce the amount of rent paying to the same 1% that she only saw it fit to complain about after she came out of office. Well, the current head office of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, that building is owned by Faris's family, Zaman Enterprises. So when this building is completed, they will move out of that building, right? And it means that that is less money that will be going into the pockets of Zaman Enterprises. So when they talk about Paris, and how much money Paris getting every month and all of that, this government is doing things, building its own premises to take away the rent, to reduce the government's rent bill. All they have to do now is spend money on maintenance. But they wouldn't talk about that, you know. If the government had said, yes, we're looking to rent another building from Zaman, we would hear all about that. But a big thing like that, yesterday, they ain't going to talk about that. The supporters wouldn't talk about that, right? It was this administration that operationalized government campus. I keep talking about that. So many government ministries and offices that are now situated in government campus that were paying millions of dollars in rent every year to the so-called 1%. Immigration has their own building now. They were renting that building up on Frederick Street next to Tiantec. That building has been boarded up since immigration moved out. No rent being paid there, right? Bottom of Abercrombie Street and Independence Square, that blue glass building owned by Issa Nicholas, that for years was occupied by Customs. Customs move out there years now. At least 7 years or so, they have their own building on Ajax Street. So the millions that was being paid in rent to Issa Nicholas has collected no rent on that building in about 7 years. The building is just there empty with a big sign for rent. No tenants. Board of Inland Revenue, they too have their own building on Ajax Street, 23 floors, I believe it is, right? They were renting, they had little building, office buildings. Well, the main one was on Queen Street, the corner of Queen and Edward Street. But they had other little satellite offices all about Port of Spain. All of those offices have now been moved into their building on Ajax Street. Millions of dollars in rent. So whoever was the landlord for that building has not collected rent in years. That building also is empty. No rent. This administration under Keith Rowley has put the biggest dent in the pockets and the bank accounts of the so-called 1% landlords. But they want to tell you, Rowley is make the rich, you only want the rich to get richer. You only want the rich to get richer. But how many of, I keep making the point, the average lease period for the government would engage in with respect to renting a building is 3 years. And so the Manning administration would have left office in 2010. It means that up till 2012, the most recent rentals that they would have gotten into would have come to an end in 2013. So all these buildings that we want to tell about Paris and Paris and Paris. Who renewed the leases when they ended in 2012 and 2013? Who renewed it? The PNM wasn't in office. So they have a problem today about all these buildings that they rented from Paris family and the 1% and so on. But you all renewed all of those leases when they expired between 2010 to 2013. All of them. The office that is now the head office for the Ministry of Social Services, Social Development and Family Services. That is where Glenn Ramadas Singh's office was. The same Paris, solid no Paris family had owned that building when you all were renting between 2010 to 2015. Number 1, Alexandra Street. That was contentious even before they came into office. They could have ended the lease, but no, they decided we're going to keep it. When the lease expired, after the 3 years, what did they do? They renewed it. Paid $40-something million in rent, $120 million to outfit $5 million in security to secure an empty building. For 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, they couldn't decide which ministry to put in that office, fighting like crabs in a barrel. Everybody want a high-rise office. Yeah, nobody want flat. The same waterfront that they maligned, they were only too happy to get an office there, to rock back and look out and look at the water taxi coming in or the ferry coming in, right? They like that. But all that money that you all paid to Zaman Enterprises for 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, nobody forced your hand. When the lease came to an end, well, they didn't tell Paris, hey, what, forget that. We're not renewing it. You all renewed it. And then when your lost office come to make an issue about it. But today, this administration, of which Faris Al-Rawi is a member, is taking steps to build their own accommodation and taking away rental income from all of these landlords who for years have been making money, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars from the state. It took this administration to do that. The same administration that they tell you in the back pocket of the 1%. I make the point again, Keith Rowley never spent taxpayers' money to host the 1%, to hold no function in the Prime Minister Residence and Diplomatic Center for the so-called 1%. Kamla Prasad-Bissassa did that. Your taxpayers' money. How many all she invite? Your taxpayer money she take to do that. You all get an invitation? No. Well, you get to watch it on the news. For her to tell you all, if you were to emulate the Syrian Lebanese community, Trinidad and Tobago would be a brighter, more prosperous country. She knew the value of the 1% then. But today, she's singing a different story. And in the interest of time, let me just touch on one other matter. This issue with the SSA. Interesting read. Where the head of the SSA was sent on leave. Right? Administrative leave pending the outcome of whatever investigations. Where supposedly he was hiring family members, church members, at sensitive positions in the SSA. Now we know what the SSA is. The SSA has had a history. From Rishmi come forward. The claims that under the Patrick Manning administration that they used to be spying on citizens and tapping people's phone and all kind of things. Kamala came in the parliament as prime minister and read out a whole list of names of people that she said that the Manning administration was spying on and so on. And then she replaced the then head of the SSA with Rishmi Ramnarayan. And let us not forget, that whole fiasco came to the public glare because of Ms. Ramnarayan's age. That it was the Express newspaper that, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, published that story. And why they published the story was they were concerned or they were surprised that someone so young with such little experience was put to head the SSA and also to the position that she held prior to assuming that position. I don't know how it is they thought that they could get by that one, but anyway. So from what I read while I was outside is that Mr. Best, who was the head of the SSA, was sent on administrative leave because the National Security Council would have gotten information that he, certain questionable hiring practices, that he was hiring family members, persons from his church and the like. And UNC, of course, had plenty to say on that, especially since the government took the decision to recall the former ambassador to the United States, Philip Spencer, to head up the SSA and to conduct an audit, manpower audit, and so on. Let me see if I get this here. Just now, give me 1 second. Right. So I want to touch on that too. Anyway, deal with that on Tuesday. Right. Yes. 5th of March, Trinidad Guardian. Philip Spencer's SSA posting upsets Kamala. Get the story. Oh gosh. Despite assurances from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley that the removal of Major Roger Best as head of the SSA was in the best interest of this country's national security apparatus, opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar believes his replacement was put there to spy on citizens and political opponents. Asked for her comment on the shake-up at the SSA and the installation of a new acting head, Persad-Bissessar told Guardian Media, it seems that the government, through the TTPS, has taken over control of the SSA. I have mentioned before that the state is spying on law-abiding citizens using the fig leaf of intelligence gathering. Dr. Rowley has rubbished this suggestion. However, Persad-Bissessar said she believes Anthony Philip Spencer was planted in the SSA to feed sensitive information to the government. Mr. Spencer is a known political operative of the Rowley government, and he has now been appointed head of the SSA. There wasn't even an attempt by the PM and his puppet president to appoint someone independent to this post. Persad-Bissessar also sought to underscore the power of the SSA. The SSA can access all of your emails, text, calls, WhatsApp messages, social media, and data on your devices. Through political appointee Spencer, the government has direct access to every citizen's communication. She suggested, this is not the first time the opposition is accusing the SSA of collusion with the government. On September 11, 2022, Naparima MP Rodney Charles accused the SSA of using its intelligence powers to send advanced copies of opposition members' speaking notes to the government. Asked at the time for a comment, National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines quickly responded, "Stop trying to waste my precious time." Yesterday, Persad-Bissessar said she believes even members of the PNM are not safe. This government is also spying on their own members, financiers, and supporters. So don't be mistaken and think that only people opposed to the government are being intercepted. Persad-Bissessar believes government acted nefariously, and this latest development is yet another stain on the country's national security mechanism. The suddenness of these recent events at the SSA, coupled with a total breakdown in the leadership of the TTPS and a non-functioning Coast Guard, further point to National Security Ministry in total meltdown. It's interesting. So that's Persad-Bissessar and her former alliance partner. Well, I'm calling them former alliance partner, but based on what I mean, like they want to make up. What's the name of the song? Make up to break up, or break up to make up. I'm not get what Gary's position was on that matter. So let me get this here. Where is it? Right. Same playbook. Remove audit character, assassinate secret report. The NTA would like to express its concerns about the media reports regarding the SSA, which were very alarming. The fact that police were sent to lock down the SSA headquarters and immediately remove the head of the SSA, Roger Best, suggested an imminent danger of some national security threat that needed this kind of swift and heavy-handed action. The reports that followed, however, show a double standard and hypocrisy, which perhaps hides a nefarious agenda similar to the attacks we saw at the Central Bank, the Industrial Court, the Integrity Commission, and with myself at the TTPS. In the case of Best and the SSA, Keith Rowley himself is quoted as saying that they acted on information. Rowley, as chair of the National Security Council, is aware of the vast difference between information, intelligence, and evidence. More importantly, the public will recall that in defense of one of his ministers, Rowley dismissed a damning police intelligence report on the minister being involved in certain activities by him stating that this is intelligence, it is not evidence. That's not right. Regrettably, the attack against Best may escalate as Rowley attempts to justify his actions. So it wouldn't be surprising if Rowley attempts another version of Emailgate as part of his playbook to read the audit report on the SSA in Parliament after it conveniently leaks to certain media persons in both traditional and social media who would extract the most damning out of the context parts. Sadly, all this perhaps serves to mask the government's real agenda, as the public needs to be reminded that the SSA has the capacity and the authority to intercept communication devices of citizens. But this must be signed off by the head of the SSA, who is no longer Roger Best, and he puts no longer in caps. Instead, this powerful tool has been in the possession of the regular police officers for at least 72 hours. The latest example of the overreach of the government is just another clear lesson for all that we have to stand up for what is good and right, regardless of perceived personal interest. Because today it is Roger Best, but tomorrow it may be you or your family as this Keith Rowley government marches on to full-blown dictatorship. So all of a sudden, Gary is coming to the defense of Roger Best. He says this is just an extension of what the government has been doing with respect to the firing of Joala Rambaran at Central Bank, the Industrial Court, the Integrity Commission, and himself as the TTPS. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this the same Gary Griffith who just a few months ago took the state to court claiming that he laid eyes on correspondence from the then acting Commissioner of Police, McDonald Jacob, that was sent to the head of the SSA, Mr. Best, asking him to tap his wife's phone? Is that the same Gary Griffith? Was it the same Mr. Best, Mr. Griffith, who was the head of the SSA, who you claim, because as you just said here in your post, that the TTPS could request, but it is the head of the SSA who has to sign off on it to approve the wiretap? You went to court. You said that your wife's phone was tapped. You claim that a whistleblower from the TTPS showed you the letter sent from McDonald Jacob, acting Commissioner of Police, to the head of the SSA, requesting that your wife's phone be tapped. So all of a sudden, you're defending the same man who signed off on your wife's phone being tapped because you spent money and went to court and claimed that you were certain, you had evidence that your wife's phone was being tapped, and the court said, well, bring the evidence, otherwise go from here with that stupidness. Go from here with that. You claimed you saw the document, but when it comes to court and the court said, well, bring the document, and you couldn't. Where was your whistleblower? They just disappeared? They vanished into thin air? They got rid of the document? Because you claim you saw the hard copy, right? So why they couldn't just present it to you? They burn it after it is that they showed you it, so they wouldn't get caught. But if they're a whistleblower, they have nothing to be concerned about. So the same Roger Best who you're trying to defend now, whose defense you're coming to, you have to claim that. So if it is in fact that Mr. Best would have signed off on this request to tap your wife's phone, and you are saying there was absolutely no reason, no plausible reason to tap her phone, then aren't you not saying that Mr. Best was in cahoots with the political directorate who you claim was behind this request to tap your wife's phone? So you had an issue with Mr. Best the other day when your wife's phone was tapped, and today you're defending him? Pick a struggle, Gary. As you love to say, you can't be half pregnant. It's either you're supporting Best or you're not supporting Best. Right? Because if you had an issue with him a few months ago, signing off on your wife's phone being tapped, and today you're saying that he should stay at the head of the SSA, something wrong. So it's either he was lying when you claimed, because if you're saying he's fit to stay at the SSA, but you had a problem with him tapping your wife's phone, I'm confused. If you made an allegation a few months ago which suggests that he was part of some government conspiracy to spy on you and your wife, right? So they tap her phone so they could hear conversations between the two of you all to see what they could get on you. then you have implicated Mr. Best in a conspiracy. So therefore, you should be the first to call for Mr. Best to go. Why are you defending him now? You see, all the convenience, the hypocrisy is what we can't take. But this is not the first time that you attack. You have forgotten, right? Philip Spencer, Anthony Spencer, a man who has a decorated military career, has been serving for the past few years as the ambassador to the United States based in Washington. I'm reading here for you an article that was written by Rafiq Shah. This is from the 13th of December 2015, entitled Injustice to a Soldier. Shah's tribute to the brigadier that the PP government overlooked. Presumably some other adjustments just now. Brigadier Rodney Smart was named as the new Chief of Defense Staff. No, just now. Last Wednesday, amidst much ceremony but little pomp, Major General Kendrick Maharaj took his last parade as Chief of Defense Staff and proceeded into retirement 1 month short of his 56th birthday. Brigadier Rodney Smart was named as the new CDS. Presumably, some other adjustments were made or will soon be made in the upper echelons of the command structure. At the end of the proceedings, which were presided over by the Commander-in-Chief, President Anthony Carmona, there may have been the customary cocktails in the officers' mess, lots of laughter and banter, and everyone seemed to be happy. But all was not what it seemed to be on the surface. There was a man missing from the parade, Brigadier Anthony Philip Spencer. He is, as far as I am aware, the substantive assistant Chief of Defense Staff still on active duty. He may be on pre-retirement leave, preparing to ride off into the sunset a disappointed career officer. Although the military ethos dictates that he says nothing, that he bears his travails like an officer and a gentleman. You see, last January, when Maharaj reached the compulsory retirement age of 55 and should have made way for Philip Spencer to succeed him as Chief of Defense Staff, the government intervened, extending Maharaj's service by 1 year. The then Minister of National Security, Captain Gary Griffith, who is supposed to be versed in military affairs, Sandhurst graduate that he is, said the government intended to enact legislation that would see the compulsory retirement ages for all personnel, 47 years to 55 years, depending on rank attained, revised upwards. He argued that sending fit, experienced soldiers and sailors into retirement so early in their lives robbed the country of their expertise from the training and experience they garnered during service. By extending their careers to, say, age 60, they and the country would benefit. Thing is, making these lofty pronouncements, the government did nothing. No bill was ever drafted, and the issue was never again discussed. The issue was never again discussed, but today, they're offering that as one of their solutions to the crime situation. We need to extend the retirement age of members of the Defense Force, right? That is one of their solutions. But since 2013, when they were in office, Gary Griffith talked about that, right? But as you see here, according to what Rafiq Shah said, no bill was drafted, nothing was done to advance that, and nothing was ever heard of it again until now in 2024, right? 11 years later, they now come in to tell you that is one of the solutions to fight crime. Well, maybe if all genuinely believe that, and you had done something about it 11 years ago when you were in office, when it came up as an issue, perhaps it might have been enforced today and the crime situation might have been a little different, right? Might have been a little different. But all they talk about it 11 years ago did nothing to advance that cause. I continue. When Maharaj's extra year expired, he simply marched out of the military, and the man who should have enjoyed at least 1 year as Chief of Defense Staff, Philip Spencer, was denied that honor as a consequence of politicians interfering in the armed forces in a way they ought never to have done. This is Rafiq Shah telling us that the People's Partnership under the leadership of Kamla Prasad-Bisesa and the Ministry of National Security under the leadership of Gary Griffith as Minister of National Security was interfering in the armed forces in a way they ought never to have done. The same people who today want to tell you that this government always interfering in independent institutions. Here it is, Rafiq Shah is telling you that when they were in office, they interfered in the running of the defense force. He said if they wanted to extend the service life of military personnel, as some countries have done, they should have allowed Maharaj to retire a year ago, promoted Philip Spencer, and make the legislative changes afterwards. As it stands, what they did comes across as a favor granted to Maharaj, which is unfair to the man and a grave injustice to Philip Spencer, who must remain a stoic soldier, grinning and bearing his burden. All of what I have written here may seem unimportant and irrelevant to the wider population, but I argue otherwise. First, once the country has armed forces, we must make provision for their terms of service and, more importantly, their retirement ages and benefits. Given changing life expectancy, more people are living longer and staying relatively healthy. Why should military personnel in whom the state invests considerable sums via training be sent on retirement on average by age 50? Right. Persons next in line are denied promotion. Right, no. There must be no compromise on this matter. Physical fitness is the distinguishing feature of all serving soldiers. The second relevance of this political tampering with retirement extends to other services and public servants. Political tampering. Buying out the leave of senior police officers when they reach retirement age, or that of permanent secretaries, creates blockages in the system. So I will stop there on that. But just to point out, it's not now the UNC has had an issue and a vendetta against Anthony Philip Spencer, right? They deprived the man of the opportunity to retire at the highest rank in the defense force. Reminds me of what they did when Pandey was prime minister. You remember a fellow by the name of Kenny Mohammed? I don't know, it's Kenrick or Kenny or whatever he is. As commissioner of police, and they extended his service by 1 year because he claimed that there was a mistake on his birth certificate and that his birth year was off by 1 year. So for 50-something years or so, or 60 or 59 years, you didn't realize that there was a mistake on your birth certificate. You didn't realize that to make a change on it for years, right? It's only when, as the commissioner of police, when you wanted an extra year and they needed an excuse to extend, all of a sudden, you look at your birth. But wait now. My birth paper saying I'm born in 19 so on. Your ID card saying the same thing. Your driver's permit saying the same thing. Your passport saying the same thing. So it took you 59 years or 60 years to realize, 60 years to realize that you were actually 59. 60 years to realize that every piece of identification that you had your wrong birth year. How you find out that? How you find out that? It's only when you reach 60, your brother or sister who will, and you say, hey, you know you're not 60. No, you're actually 59. Yeah, we forgot to tell you you were born 1 year later than you actually thought. Your birth paper have a mistake on it. Yeah, you need to go and fix that. They couldn't tell you that for 59 years. And they sell us that, with a straight face. Pandey and his administration told us that, well, yes, the man birth paper had the wrong birth year. So he's actually 59. So he's entitled to one more year. And the supporters clap that. You see why it is they could have referred to them as sheep? But they like to do PNM drinking Balize juice. PNM people stupid. They're dotish. Right? They can't think for themselves. But the government, the UNC government, told us that this man for 59 years didn't know what year he was born in. Yeah, and we supposed to buy that. Because we stupid. Yeah. They sell all that. Wholesale. And the supporters buy that wholesale. And he gets an extra year. So they deprived Philip Spencer of retiring at the highest level in the defense force so that they could extend Kenrick Marage's term by 1 year. Right? 1 year. So that by the time that 1 year ended, Mr. Philip Spencer was on retirement leave when ideally, because if memory serves me correctly, at the time, he was the head of the regiment. So he should have had that accolade as brigadier, former chief of defense staff. They robbed the man of that. And here we are years later, they're coming out to malign his name to talk about he's a political appointee and he go in there. This is a man who has served with distinction in his professional career. How many people in the UNC could talk about? Kamla could talk about that? Munilal could talk about that? Any of them? This man is distinguished. He served this country well with respect to his posting as an ambassador. And this is why good people don't like to come forward to offer themselves to serve. Because when you have an opposition like the UNC, who like to malign people's character based on foolishness, propaganda, Philip Spencer go in there to do the bidding of the government and they want to spy on people. Spy on them for what? They don't need to put him there. Because if, let's say, under Best, Roger Best, they were spying on Gary and his wife. Well, then clearly Roger Best had to be political. Because if he's doing that and there's no cogent reason based on what all is saying to have tapped Nicole Diagriffith's phone, even though they couldn't provide one shred of evidence. Well, then why replace Roger Best? You realize they ain't talking about that again, I don't know if she talked about that last night. As I said, I didn't see. But the godly pastor now is claiming that he's a spy. Let me just get this short thing. He says that he went by the the alias, the ghost of he who walks. Phantom, the ghost of he who walks calls forth the strength of 10 tigers. That's what Phantom is to say. Pastor, I am a spy. Pastor Ian Albert Ezekiel Brown says he's a spy from the SSA. In an exclusive interview The Express yesterday in Port of Spain, Brown, 67, also confirmed that 100 police officers on Saturday raided his home and his churches. He said he is known as the Phantom and the ghost who walks in the SSA. Really, Pastor? He was only now breaking his silence because his cover was blown by the police. The police blow your cover? Really? The police said you were a spy? For all we know, what was reported, what was reported is that he was an advisor to Mr. Best. Nobody said that you were any spy, so this is news to us. So the police didn't blow your cover. So if you were in fact a spy, you just outed yourself. And if in fact that you did that, then there should be cause for concern. You don't have any business being in the SSA. But you see, it's just like Gary Griffith. When he was commissioner of police, and after he lost the work, all of a sudden he busting files and publishing things that ought not to be in the public domain. He said, let me see if I get his here, right? Brown said he believes the SSA will go dark because of a list of righteous people will be dismissed from the agency. He claimed further that these actions are being done to protect criminality and a government official. He said SSA Director Major Roger Best was sent on administrative leave because he was working on treating with crookedness in the SSA. Who is Brown? Brown said in 1982, he was employed at the Ministry of Works National Secondary Roads Construction Company Limited, where he met a German man named Arnim Korb, who trusted him and trained him to be a spy. In 1984, he pursued Bible studies at the West Indies School of Theology in St. Joseph and obtained a bachelor's degree in theology. Following which he became a pastor in 1986. He opened his first church at Pinto Road, Arima. Brown said he has always been a spy and provided intelligence to the former Special Anti-Crime Unit, SORT, after he was contracted by the Ministry of National Security for a project in Macquarie. He said he provided intelligence reports for free. He said he only began to receive a stipend about 5 years ago. He was also made a special reserve police officer and used a rental car paid for by the Ministry of National Security to do his spy work. To spy on who, sir? As of May 25th, 2023, he came on the SSA payroll as a service provider. I am a spy. I am a police officer as well. 10702, that is my regimental number. Brown said his church is not a cult and he's also an author and a bona fide bishop. He said he was not surprised when the police came. I have covert ways of dressing. I was leaving with one of my gears, a Rasta wig, because my neighbors do not know what I am except a pastor and a bishop. When they came, some were over the fence already, and I was reversing my vehicle to go on one of my beats. When I saw them coming, hurling themselves over the fence, I stopped, put my hand outside the window and said, stop, stop. I said, come out. I'll come out and open the gate. When I came out, they said, take that off your head. Take it off. So what the neighbors never saw, they saw for the first time. Pastor Brown said, looking like a Rasta, adding that the police were forceful and violent and pointed guns at him. I was pressed. I was made to spread my legs apart, spread out like an eagle and patted down over and over again. A team of officers and a sniffer dog swept his home and seized files, confidential notes, and other items he may not be aware of because he was not allowed to view when they searched his large office. Family members were made to stand in the yard whilst the raid was conducted. He said they also searched about 10 vehicles in the yard, some of which belonged to clients of his son, who is a street man painter. Asked why he thought this happened, Brown responded, because I am the threat to the government presently and not the director. Best, he claimed, is one of 9 elders in the church. Best met me as a pastor. He did not know I was an informant. He discovered that eventually. He said he was hired because he can get information that no one can and was brought in to weed out the crooks in the SSA. Questioned about the information he got, he said there was information on a government official and ties to the underworld. church members hired. Question on whether members of his church were employed in the SSA. Brown said, yes, I wouldn't lie to you. I tell you the truth. Yes, he did hire a few people. Brown said about 5 church members were hired, including his son, whom he said worked at the agency before he was brought in last year formally. He said 5 church members were vetted before hiring and some underwent polygraph testing. Brown said 5 people were, and that caused chaos. These church members, he said, will be removed from the SSA on the basis that they were hired illegally. So he admit they were hired illegally. The reason why they're trying to get these people out is so that they will not have anybody to confuse their way forward in keeping a covert way of managing what they call the explosion of the crime. Because if you want to know why so many millions is pumped into an agency like that, and there is so little crime detection, I was brought in to find out why, because I was able to find whom and who in the agency were the rats. They put the noose around some of their necks. Brown reiterated he was hired to deal with corruption as it relates to the SSA. It is hijacked from the inside to guarantee the narrative concerning crime and criminals that comes to the present Commissioner of Police. Brown confirmed that he sat in high-level national security meetings and had access to sensitive information. Asked if he had a particular squad in the SSA, Brown said 2 service providers who were also church members were assigned to him, and they were paid a stipend on contract to provide information and intelligence at his request. Brown claimed that there are going to be major changes at the SSA from today. Right. Okay. All right. So he's the ghost of he who walks. The phantom calls forth the strength of 10 tigers. All right. Never a dull moment in Sweet TNT. My goodness. The UNC is concerned about Philip Spencer. They're not concerned about Pastor Brown and the other members of his church who were hired, according to him, illegally. We don't know what their background is. Reminds me of Mervyn Cordner. You remember Mervyn Cordner? Mr. Flying Squad? The man who wanted to revamp the flying squad under the PP, under Mr. Warner as National Security Minister, and all the claims that he too also made. Remember that? Never a dull moment. Yes, but they have a problem with Anthony Philip Spencer, not Mr. Best, not persons who are hired, who more or less were just basic civilians. We don't know what their background is, but they're subject to confidential information, and now the goodly pastor has no problems. You see, in other jurisdictions in the US, he would have been charged for making such disclosures. Because if it is that you worked in a sensitive institution like that, and you were subject to certain information, one would think that even when you leave, there are certain laws that prevent you from being able to disclose certain things. Right? That is why Donald Trump now finds himself before the courts, where confidential documents, classified documents were stored at Mar-a-Lago. And some of the worst ways they had boxes of confidential documents, classified documents in the bathroom, in the dining room, just there, boxes open, people scattered all about, classified information. The former president of the United States is now facing a charge for that. But a man, anyway, 7701763. It is already 8:05. Yes. Sometimes when they say Trinidad is not a really place. Oh boy. Just out, Jerry. Give me 1 sec. Oh boy. Jenny.
Hi, morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Morning to all the callers and those who are viewing on YouTube and Facebook. And to all the females who are viewing also.
Yes.
Happy International Women's Day. I know it went on Friday, but as women, we continue to celebrate. Happy International Women's Day.
Yes.
I want to say congratulations to the PNM Women's League under the directive of Madam Camille Robinson-Regis. I understand they had a very successful program at the City Hall. The place was packed to capacity. I saw some pictures. I hear people were even outside seated. So they know they have to get a bigger space because it looked like the Fat Bottom Brigade is back.
Yes.
And when I say that, I say it without being disrespectful and understanding. When I say fat bottom, it does not really only treats with the ladies there, but it speaks about the concept of what that movement would have done for the People's National Movement under Dr. Eric Williams. They were a very vibrant group, and they are the movers and shakers within the People's National Movement. And I know Ms. Robinson-Regis has done her part, and I wait eagerly to see that whole department being revived, that woman force come back to that strength that they had in prior years. I think that is also the key, also to a lot of successes for the People's National Movement. So I'll leave that right there. Dominic, everything that you have said this morning, as I said on another program, and I will continue to speak about it, those things and issues we have stem from something. And sometimes where it starts from, because of where we stand and position ourselves, it is not important, so it does not get highlighted.
Yes.
That brown man singing just like a Denny, and the corner man that you would have spoken about. But sometimes we laugh at these things, and what gets missed is why, how, and when. And sometimes when we answer those questions, we'll be able to get to the bottom of it.
Yes.
I'm saying all this to say again, I am waiting for St. Stephen's College, the board and the archdeacon of the Anglican board, and the principals of St. Stephen's College to deal with an incident of racism that, if not treated with, could escalate to another level. Because children imitate and mirror what they see, and they imitate from adults, either in the homes, the communities, the schools, or wherever they gather. And you cannot have a student of Indian descent saying those racist things about African people. The video is all over social media. He is in school uniform. There's even an extended version with other boys in school uniform. And today, St. Stephen's College has not said anything about it. We have not heard a word from the Ministry of Education. And I'm saying, when these things are left untreated, because he learned that from somewhere. If it had been a child of African descent in the school uniform, saying the same thing about Indian people and calling them the C word, it would not have gone down in silence like we have now. Dr. Rowley had to apologize for a sari skit that he knew nothing about. A skit where they say that the sari is religious and holy and sacred. They match, and he apologized. Dr. Stow in this country is still practicing medicine, although he would have been on tape saying the most racist and damaging thing against people of African descent. He got a pat on the wrist, he's still practicing medicine. While Dr. Delia Gabriel, who had 1 more month to finish her internship so she could practice medicine in this country, she was fired because she made some post that they felt was racist. Nayam, the girl from Ramsaran, had a post up of a message between herself and somebody else, saying the most discriminatory and racist things about African people in this country. What happened in Ramsaran was boycott for 48 hours, and things went on as normal. And there are so much examples you could pull from society that shows there's no equity in treatment. And I am saying this is a child, he learned it from somewhere. And the longer St. Stephen's College remains silent, you can draw a logical conclusion that they condone his racist behavior. That too could be damaging for that child, correct? It could come back to haunting, where he could be seen in the outer world, if not in Trinidad, but as a racist. Again, I call on the powers that be to start a conversation on race relations. Let us start to put hate law in place. We march against hate speech when Kamala Pasabi-Sessa referred to Member of Parliament for Maloney, Ms. Camille Robinson Regis, basically calling her the N-word. Because we know when you say what the slave master used to call African people, it wasn't Camille, it wasn't Dominica. Even Dr. David Muhammad said, when they refer to us, is the N-word they call us by. So that basically, in my opinion, what Kamala Pasabi-Sessa would have called Ms. Camille Robinson Regis and all people of African descent. We march against that. Nothing has happened. And today we are faced now with a little child of Indian descent saying the most vile things in school uniform about people of African descent, and today not a word from the board, the Anglican board, and St. Stephen's College. That is totally unacceptable. What is good for one is good for all. We're born equal, but we want equity with all other races, because all of us have to live here and build Trinidad and Tobago. Every creed and race find an equal place. Dominic, have a blessed day.
Thank you, Jen. Just get this here. Right. Hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Let me just tell you three things very quickly. Right? One, neither Dr. Rowley, because that is the focus of his comment, nor any of his cabinet members was found drunk around the savannah last year Juve moment. That is number one.
Yes.
And this level of incoherence, it couldn't be more sickening this morning. Repeating the man's full name. Dotishness. Dotishness. Secondly, as we all know, UTT has a very strong sports component in its portfolio. Cricket being one of those sports featured by UTT. When this same one who passed away the other day, Karim, was Minister of Tertiary Education with responsibility for UTT, you know what they did? You know who they fire as cricket coaches? Listen to me carefully. The highly esteemed Gordon Grimmage, one of the best, if not the best, opener this country has ever seen. Mervyn Dillon, former test bowler, Trinidadian. Larry Gomes, Mr. Dependable. And guess who, of all people, Brian Lara, world record holder. The world record holder, 2 world records, the test batting record and the first class batting record. She fired him. Guess who Karim and the UNC kept? Darren Ganga. The mediocrity of mediocrities as a test batsman. But you see, for UNC, to coach the lady the other night, our support is not tribal.
Yes.
It's not tribal at all. But you fire Brian Lara and all the blacks and Larry Gomes are mixed Trinidadian. and you kept Darren Ganga, Mr. Mediocre himself. That is not tribal. No, it's not tribal at all. And then finally, have you noticed that? I was waiting to see the response. Barring one little cameo statement by the professor, because it is something she had to say about the young woman's wonderful achievement in India.
Yes.
The UNC as a party and the Indo-Trinidadians in general have not had one word to say about the young woman's achievement. That is not tribal. But you look at her, she's not Indian. And as a matter of fact, some idiot put on social media and his picture was exposed why Ashley Abrahams was wearing a sari in India. In other words, why this non-Indian girl gone to India, this half-black girl gone to India to put on a sari or what tribal wear. That is UNC. That is the non-tribal thing she was talking about. So you see, you have to ignore these people totally out of hand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, darling. How are you?
I am good.
You know, when come nowhere after the tab, what is that about? When they take part in Carnival, what is it about? And Christmas. How quite so? They are the worst thing ever in this nation. That man from Bamboo, it's a joke. What KFC?
Yes.
The way he's talking in South. Boycott him now. Because his brother's mustard, you want to boycott him? Right? The girl who got fired up was fired by her run. Okay? She is still doing medicine. Can you trust him? If I'm the N-word, can I trust to give the best care? Pinchan, sorry for calling my name, sorry for starting this same wave. Boycott him now. Go and boycott that man. Would you boycott KFC? The people made the cups, the plates, the covers, the napkin, the bags. Won't they go bankrupt? So you're so hateful, racist, and an all-time walking hemorrhoid. The listener Temple, boycott KFC, right?
Yes.
Who keep going to bankrupt? Because they have curry, who's KFC. Not so. You're going to get the people unemployed en masse. That means an uptick crime. If you have and I don't have, I'm going to rob you. Who will then pay them for then? The crime increase? Where common sense? Then racism has no kind of sense. This best man, if you aspire, right? I think with if loosely. Keep it on quiet. But if you're a ghost of a spy, you'll never be found. Because their ears to the ground, their eyes open. So who the hell you want to go this morning? My pastor. You past the age of being a policeman. You're 67. What police you are? You have I want some snacks. On popcorn, Cheetos, and some alligator luggages at a plate and cook. So you get caught with your pants down. You should have access points, exit points that are hidden. You don't have 1 point in, 1 point out, or the same access point in one place. You ever watch a mole, Dominic? You ever watch this thing, gosh, it's creatures with life?
Yes.
You have light in your house, right? The next live in your yard. It could be 15 streets down. So who you said you aspire what? Stupid, wholesale student denial. And darling, they block you on the Facebook fake beauty page.
It looks so.
Get another name. Dominic, you have A to Z, choose any name because
Yes.
tell Anna with the E or I or A. Get another name, them at their own game. So, you know, this country is after last, you know.
Yeah.
Where is the maturity of some people?
Mm-hmm.
Their brains in the cemetery, and sorry, anyway, but they haven't grown up. UNC have not reached the age of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Their body dead, but their mind is infantile. Is any perfect person? No, they're not perfect, eh? But people will listen, we decipher, we turn upside down, we tear apart, we use Google Maps, we get a telescope, we take apart and we listen. There's things on myself and on my tablet I feel. So I go back and it is not true. Remember the year, I think it was September 6th, 2012, when Kamla praised the 1%.
Mm-hmm.
She praised them. I have it on myself. Where she praised them about their hard work, about how they quit and do the work. The same people you praised 12 years ago come in here. Or you by chance bipolar? Because I look, I love you. I tell people I hate you. Now hear this then. You go nice something, go into your head and you rub. Take it, factory, and go to upon UN and do return. And UNC is a cult. They are the James Jones in the local arena. They will go to help her and she will put to up gas. Will people burn? Get some sense and leave her alone. Because that party is also a dictatorship. Don't have a good day and a blessed man of later.
You too. Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Dominic.
Yes, sir.
What's going on?
I am good.
You're back in port.
Yes.
Wonderful. Dominic.
Yes, sir.
At the PNM meeting, Dr. Rowley say how Mr. Manning tipped off called a hat. Why he didn't say the former Prime Minister tipped off Mali? You don't think he'd get more points if he did say that, Dominic?
Which meeting was this?
You didn't hear that conversation?
No, I remember I was out of the country, so I missed this. This the most recent conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't hear that.
I'm telling him, only remember that? Mr. Manning tipped off called a hat by the police. Why he didn't tell him the former Prime Minister tipped off Marlene? Did I get more points? But they want to tell me that Mr. Manning and Dr. Rowley, they make up the differences. But you still want to drag your name through the mud. Dominic, don't answer that.
Leave it there. I will look into that. As I said, I missed that conversation, so I'm not aware that was said. But if you say, I will look into it. Hello. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, my brother.
Good morning, sir.
And the last caller is so wrong. That was the meeting held that day. Down in Enterprise there. Conversation was last Tuesday and the meeting was held Tuesday down in Enterprise, right?
Right.
Right, and the context he used is that when PM Manning tipped off that he fled, when Bissessa of McDonald, as they call him, country, she stayed in the country and was arrested and charged and was before the court. And what happened is that she had ministerial appointment and so on.
Right.
She was still an MP. Isn't that the facts? Yeah, so you must come with proper facts, man. But listen, all the points that were shown this morning, I'm going to give their perspective on Pastor Brown, right?
Yes.
Many people are not aware of it. I tried to do it. Now, this morning, incidentally, he gave a fulsome interview on Power 102.
Right.
So if you had chance, go back and watch the YouTube clip where he said.
Okay.
And he came and said point blank that he would have supported the MP who was remanded the pastor.
Right.
His name no one, is Roger Daniel it was?
Samuel.
Right. Then he came out and he urges the members of his congregation to support that person.
Right.
And that time he would have support a political party. Right? Now I said I go on to this right come. No, my bag. So I could tell you, the time when I retired, the special reserve officers in this able to be distinguished by regular because all their numbers were 4 digits. And even when they worked in closed sections and so on, when they identify themselves, they would give their title, SRP, and the 4 numbers, which is the regimental number.
Right.
2018, when the former commissioner in office was an explosion of recruitment into the SRP. And Mr. Paul Nahus, who is interviewed as a security expert, never served a day in the military or the service, was an SRP. And many of and the system of background check was so bastardized that people were given 24 hours to do background checks on people. They filed upstairs on the 6th floor to the commissioner. There is approval. And many of these SRPs were former members who retired. Remember, the retirement age is younger.
Right.
Of the regiment, the Coast Guard, but the Defense Force overall. And these people were put in specialist section. And their sole remit was to report the Commissioner of Police. They had no loyalty to history. They had no place in the SIU, Special Branch, and the SSC. And this is how this man was able to get. Instantly, what happened is that yes, somebody reached a 5-digit Dominic like regular police officers. The numbers were being used up so quickly that there began to be numbers of SRPs similar to regular police officers who were either serving or retired. And most of these people, they are not trained that they as an SRP. I can tell you, training for a regular police officer is roughly between 6 and 7 months, all right? An SRP is about 6 to 20 weeks.
Right.
Pretty much. And many of these people never went through even that SRP training of 6 to 20 months. But had police ID, police uniform, and police paraphernalia, and were in sections. This is the madness that was going on. And this is how national security has been compromised by that guy because he wanted, whatever when he was legal advisor, he was about the press, giving the justification was such a long sword. Remember what he said? If Informant Manning was creating a parallel police service loyal to him and Martin Joseph. Well, from the opposition side, he learned the lessons well. And that is what he was doing, sir. Undermining national security. Right, sir? Well, I just want to throw that anyway. But in all the doom and gloom that they spoke about, I'm sure yesterday, the leader of the opposition in her talk, supporters, didn't mention the IMF's report on the country's economic performance. I wonder if our good friend, the erudite and the erstwhile Ralph Farage, will write about that performance or that rating by the IMF.
No.
And where the concern they would have given is what we have discussed here on your program, which is the position with the NIB. And where they said it can come as quickly as 22 steps are not taken. Again, Tom, I would urge, as we go forward into the year and you may on more economic matters,
yes,
the enlightenment, is that the government remove the shackle of that 10% investment percentile,
yes,
and allow the NIB to also invest in instruments outside of the country.
correct.
And as they say, and one of the things that they tested was the frequency of contributions. So it may mean that instead of making one monthly contribution, persons may have a situation of making contributions, NIS deduction. Right? But I will also urge that once the TTRA comes on board, the government may be able, by way of direct taxation, have more money to the NIB and put at their disposal.
Right.
You know? So, and you know, the point you raised about the boycott, and I am saying that you are correct when you say that people like ourselves will have expense generated when they work with the 1% and thing, right? But we must admit, though, that though prestige holdings is publicly traded companies, I agree with you. That is one of the companies that we were looking at the investment because of where the price is now.
Yes.
We, as our own volition, have to become more savvy in terms of investment and a bit like economic buy.
Yes.
And like you rightly said, I know you would have promised, but I think you should really dedicate a program for that to educate people on all these things. The NIF, when government bonds come into play, when the other instrument investment is NIC. National company, I believe it is. Right. When these opportunities come on board, push themselves on their marks, invest whatever they have, increase their holding. Right, brother? So good to have you back and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure. Right, let me see who we have here. Hello, good morning.
Dominic.
Yes, sir. Oh, Lord.
You know I don't like to call twice. Dominic, if Marlene wanted to jump ship, she could have jumped ship. But the point is, she was stripped off by the former Prime Minister. So what nonsense this one come talking? If she wanted to go, she could have go. But she decided to stay. Hey, simpleton. You're a big policeman. Stop talking nonsense, eh? Dominic, I will leave it here.
Leave it there, sir.
Leave it there.
I will look into that. Anyway. Hello, good morning.
Hi. Dominic.
Good morning.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Dominic, I'm encouraging. Yeah, see, I wonder if one if is this, because I wonder if he will employ them in wonder, maybe then he can start a customer.
Yes.
That's what I'm following. Probably the simple approach. And that's why we like people we can do now.
Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir, morning. Hello?
1 second, Dominic, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, man. Welcome back, Dominic.
Thank you.
Dominic, so much to talk about, but first I want to congratulate with the IMF report and how the country is catching back it up.
Yes.
But you know, the other side wouldn't be too happy about that.
Correct.
The probably vomiting is on probably vomiting right now. Right? I want to congratulate the young lady who went up for Miss World. She was in top 4. She didn't make it, but she still made us proud.
Yes.
And it shows that our local talent are much better than anybody, like say a Venezuelan that they want to put up for Miss World, who doesn't live here, and still speaking at who they wanted to put up for Miss World. But you see what transpired now. Right? And I am hoping that the investigative authorities in this country investigate what's going on in Tobago with certain text messages talking about money had to be paid to a certain somebody in the THA. I hope that wouldn't be buried on the carpet, just like the alleged audio recording, which is still long overdue. We haven't heard more arrests yet. I hope that won't be swept under the carpet. Because I find these days certain Polish people in this country, they turn a blind eye on certain investigations.
Yes.
They didn't talk about the human trafficker in Parliament. I don't know what's going on with these so-called gentlemen who on $1 million bail. The EMB investigation. Right? So I just hoping that what's going on in Tobago, I hope that thing be investigated because it's very serious.
Yes.
So let's see what's going on. Have a good day.
You too, sir. I'm sure the TTPS Cybercrime Unit will be able to do their due diligence and they will be able to speak to that issue. Brian, morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
This fella, when he was away, he was harassing everybody. Dominic, like he miss you.
That seems so.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah.
You leave it short.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Righty fella. You leave it short. 2 seconds and just bothering everybody.
Correct.
Another day. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You missed a lot.
I did, I realize.
But I want to take some notes, because when you left, there was a big set of cantankerous back and forth between them two friends from Port of Spain. Gary and the next one.
Right.
That fella.
Right.
But I want you to, I know you have the ability to do so, and all those who are listening, the Pep Man was interviewed on TV6 this morning. I would like you all to go and look at that interview. You will get excerpts of it, I believe, tonight on the news.
Right.
But go and listen to the entire thing. And people will then begin to understand how important the PNM winning the next election, as the Honorable Prime Minister indicated, how important it is when he spoke in Shogunas East just recently. Because these fellas are just pure anti-PNM. They say one thing today and say something else tomorrow. Because this morning, when Marlon Hopkinson read out from the Express, excerpts from the Express, just before the local government election of what Philip Alexander said. And he asked him to comment on it. He could not respond. He didn't respond directly. He went all over the place. But his objective is to get rid of this PNM that bringing down the country.
Yes.
Because he didn't listen to the IMF. He didn't see the IMF report yesterday. You know, many people don't see those things, you know.
Yes.
And one more thing, just to correct you slightly. Not direct to correct you, but the Honorable Prime Minister, but the opposition leader changed her mind at the end of her speech last night. She gave all those people until the 11th of next month. She said 1 month to bring in your nomination papers. She changed it from the 30th to the 11th because yesterday was the 11th. So she gave them until the 11th to bring in their papers. And I agree with you that Rushton Parry, because I mean that excerpt of him, that exact interview that he did, I feel that he hook, line, and sinker because Bushwati had taken no prisoners.
Yes.
And Rambali, well, poor fella, I feel he doldrums too.
Yes.
You understand? Because she wants people who is yes men and yes women around her. She didn't want nobody trying to attempt to counteract what she says or make her look bad or try to take her leadership position from her. People have to remember that Kamala Prasad's successor has things to complete before she exits politics. There are friends of hers who are in trouble. And she needs to help them, especially one who was a former Attorney General. She needs to help him more than anybody else before she exits office. And she needs to win. So she will do whatever it takes to win. Regardless of whether Mahasabha is on her side or not. She is of the view that she has the amount of votes necessary hopefully to win, and she will take anybody on board. Because 1 minute, you and some of them are talking, and next minute, it's all about love. You understand? So, the shenanigans and all of the old talk and all of these stupidness will continue. And we have to be mindful because the bacchanal now starts. But we have to stay focused. Yes? Because you could imagine in this Joint Select Committee, you have two persons. One of them went to court to ensure that murderers, according to the Prime Minister, are freed.
Yes.
To go out there and commit murders, and you have witnesses now running scared, as the Honorable Prime Minister indicated. And the next one who have case to answer on the 20th of this month, writing the chairman of the Joint Select Committee on National Security, because they want to have a meeting to discuss what happened in the SSE. Imagine that. But thank God there's a majority there, and they tell them now, too early for that. Or you cool it. So they jump back down on the interview now and say, well, we don't find it too early. We should have this interview. My words. I'm paraphrasing. Understand? But again, look up.
Yes.
So there will be no interview because they want. I must look at it. Say, imagine you have questions to answer before the court, but you want to interview the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Energy. I find these it's crazy. People listening to you who have questions to answer before the court. What's going on in this country? Look at the deputy political leaders of that party. Jolene John, David Lee, accused of fraudster. And the next one, the super cat from down Urupuchis. Who can't get anyone, he can't get anyone at school, so he walk out. And then come out to say that he didn't really want anyone in school. Liar. That is what we have in running, attempted to get back into power. But
And also, Dominic, if you missed it, you should go back and listen to what the Honorable Prime Minister had to say during his turning ceremony for social welfare. I don't know if you heard the entire thing.
No, I didn't.
But there's a lot of things happening. The Prime Minister could not say all, but there's a lot of things happening with the new Ministry of Housing. Something with the very old TNTech power station and things are happening there.
Right.
You understand? And Dominic, a lot of things are really happening because they say that he in the mouth of the 1%. He's not. 23, almost $24 million in rent, which in the next 2 years will be no more. I will go towards paying for that new building that is going to go up.
Yes.
You understand? And in 15 years' time, it'll be the state zone. And you know what hurts me every time I hear the Honorable Prime Minister speak, Dominic? Dominic, I'm from South, and every time I pass Chancery Lane, and I see that big, huge building.
Yes.
That's about as big as Port of Spain General Hospital, and was supposed to house and stop all the rental of state agencies in San Fernando. And when the UNC partnership came into office, the leaders stopped all of that. The state still paying rent. I don't know why they don't take back over that building and put in state agencies in it and stop paying rent in South. It hurts me to see that building on Chancery Lane just sitting there and not being used for the purpose for which it was built.
Right.
By the late, great Patrick Manning. That concerns me deeply. And the day that happens, the day I hear Dr. Rowley indicate that is what he's going to do with that building, I will be a happier man. Because I understand that when they build a new tower in the Port of Spain General, it'll also be a training hospital for nursing and so on.
Yes.
So I don't think we honestly really need that building just for a few nurses down there. I don't know what else it's being used for. Maybe it's being used for some additional things, but as far as I understand, that is not so. I could be wrong. I don't know, but from what I have heard, it is not being used for anything else. And that is hurtful for me every single time I pass by that humongous building. And something has to be done. But we wait to see, Dominic.
Yes.
The Honorable Prime Minister is working, and he's working very, very, very hard. And I listen to I'm glad you are back so that we can get some more things to talk about. And I know you're going to talk about Haiti at some other time.
Yes.
Because I know there's another piece of talk going to come up on that Haiti issue. And it will come, I believe, from Duppy. And I'm going to explain why perhaps when you bring it up after you gather all of your information.
Hello? Hello? I don't know what happened there, Brian. You call me back. Don't know what happened there. Call me back. Still have some time. Mr. Chance, you could give me a call. Yes, Brian. Right, I don't know what happened. Yeah, let me just see this here. Yes, sir.
It was just about the Haiti issue.
Right.
And that I'm almost certain. Hello?
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that the member for Naparima, before he exits office, may have something to say on that. Because certain countries are sending small troops across there.
Right.
You know, and I'm almost certain, they don't do like Dr. Rowley already. And he did not go to the meeting yesterday in Jamaica.
Right.
For whatever reason. But he sent the High Commissioner to Jamaica.
Right.
I think at David Murray. I think that wasn't bad. They always complain, you're only flying here and flying there.
Yeah.
So I waited to hear what they will say about that. But at the end of the day, we'll wait to see exactly what they have to say on that. That's all I have to say, really.
Thank you, sir.
For now. Okay, no problem. Take care. Bye.
All right. Mr. Chance, call me back. Call me back. So you were calling earlier. Melka says Philip is promising Kamala to use his party to command the tax campaign against the government. So I just saw a picture. I assume it's from last night because based on the dress that she is wearing. So it seems Mr. Alexander and some of the representatives of PEP were at the UNC's Monday night forum meeting last night. And they took the opportunity afterwards to take some selfies. Himself and Mrs. Prasad Bisesa and members of his party. So it seems he's taking in front before Gary tack back, so to speak. Yeah? You don't want to tack back with Gary. So, Jenny.
Dominic.
Yes, ma'am.
If these people in this country would just exercise emotional intelligence, and that is not to say people are foolish, but emotional intelligence is just being able to control emotions. You know, your anger, your frustration, your stress, right? It's about that.
Right.
And then you sit down and you look at the two parties, the UNC and the People's National Movement. Look at the leaders. You don't have to go as far back as the late, great Dr. Eric Williams.
Right.
Let me start 2010. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the first female prime minister and person of Indian descent. And what she was able to accomplish by bringing together all those other parties, including the next biggest party at the time, the COP. People had hope. There was a joy in the air, something different, something new. All these parties, Labour were part of it, right? And people was expecting that because so many different parties were there, that everybody interested will be served because Labour will have a voice now, COP and the others. And they came into office with oil prices the highest ever, over $100 and something a barrel. You would expect that they will deal with infrastructure, they will deal with the social programs, schools, everything in the interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because that is where they came in, because they said PNM wasn't doing it right. Okay. And in 5 years, every single day of that 5 years, we have had to deal with allegations of corruption. There's corruption right in your face, you could see. The first thing she did is went and stayed when she became the prime minister in her friend's residence. The second thing is she family was living in the diplomatic center. The next thing, she was keeping meetings, cabinet meetings, the country leaders in her house in the Philippines. So extra money for security, even leaving herself open to risk, because that was not the prime minister's residence. We had the Point 14 highway. We had the corruption in that because we saw OAS is a company in Brazil that has been accused on allegations of money laundering, corruption. They gave that bankrupt company billions of dollars. In fact, they put on a bond, $1 billion, that if they finish the project, we will get back the money. They didn't finish it. They leave the country. Kamala and them on the eve of election, remove the clause where they could take back the $1 billion and they didn't finish. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, they raid NGC. They take money from the Heritage and Civilization Fund. And the list goes on and on. We heard Makanda Daga, who was a part of that partnership that people had so much hope for. He said they thief money from the treasury as if they have a right to thief it, as if they invent money. We heard MSJ leader who was a part of that. He said that she corrupt because he tells you about corruption. She says she know and she ain't doing nothing about it. And if you ain't doing nothing about it, you're corrupt. We heard Roger say she does lie. We heard Jerry Hadid, who was a part of the 1%, they like to talk about 1%. The 1% who was there, he says rats and more rats. We heard her National Security Minister and Minister of she advisor, Jack Warner and Gary Griffith, speaking about her in ill terms, that she have a 5-day weekend, but the marijuana. We heard all that. We heard Jack say, Panda say, Jack say she fall long drunk and gone she statue. We heard all kind of things about Kamla Prasad-Bissessar. We saw what they did in the 5 years they were there. It was not about developing this country. People would have agreed to that. And after PNM having a small maxi, and the UNC and the PP government, they had the majority of seats. They had the majority in parliament. They could have passed any law in this country that needed a special majority. And people said, listen, 2050, enough is enough. We want stability. We don't want this set of corruption talk. We want a leader with a vision. We want a serious leader. We want a transformational leader. And they went out in the numbers and voted for the People's National Movement. This government, when they came in, was told by Jarala Rambaran, a UNC person, who was the governor of Central Bank, that this country has been experiencing recession since 2015. For 2 years, this PNM government under Dr. Oli came in a recession. They had to pay a 14% increase, the highest ever. I was glad for that settlement. And borrow money to pay. Kamla and them left that there. After coming out of all that, with oil prices going as low as $26, they were hit with COVID-19. The whole world hit with COVID-19. It was not epidemic, it was a pandemic. The whole world had lockdown. Trinidad and Tobago had lockdown. They had to internalize and use the money that we have in the banks, wherever we have it, to make sure they save lives. Public officers, nobody lost their job. They stayed on about a year and more and get paid every day, every month, while the emergency workers out there. People were getting food grant, rent grant, food, everything, trying to cushion the effects of this deadly disease that they were still trying to find out about. Coming out of that, the contracts that Kamla Prasad-Bissessar would have negotiated with them oil companies, where they could drill and whatever and don't pay no taxes until 2024. Dr. Rowley, Minister Stuart Young, and I think Minister Khan before he died was Minister of Energy, flew out to all them oil giants. They meet them in their bedroom slippers and pajamas. They were in suits and speaking the language of the oil giants and was able to renegotiate those contracts. Dr. Rowley said that the pricing agency that priced gas was selling at about $1 and something. And they were able to renegotiate with these companies to sell it at $3 and something, where everybody gets something. We hear Minister Stuart Young say in 2019 that they were able to get back billions of dollars in corporate taxes from those same companies that renegotiated the deals. We heard Moody's, Standard & Poor's and the IMF rated us good credit rating. We see recently here now, the IMF again come back and said, first time in 10 years, a decade, that Trinidad and Tobago is on a sustained economy. They talk about we are starting to diversify. All that is said in those reports. We see the programs coming out of the Youth Development National Services Ministry. Minister Foster Cummins couldn't stop call the amount of programs that are for young people. We see what happening in all areas. The pools in Maloney, I hear Maloney pools are oversubscribed. Too much people. The pools are being used. We see all that. And I comment at end here now. You see a prime minister, the only thing they could say about him, he arrogant. He too black. He ugly. That's the only thing you hear about them. He just talk about to you rough. That's the only thing, you know. They can't say he does thief and he no corruption. He has been cleared by the Integrity Commission on several occasions. And you want to tell me, when you sit down consciously and think about those things I now said, and it has so much more, because I can't name everything, you're going to take your index finger, come 2025, and vote UNC? Or you're going to sit down home and say voting don't matter? After women fight for the right, first women to have the right to vote, adult suffrage, where people died in this world for people to have democracy and have a right to vote, because there are some countries there's no democracy. And you're going to sit down and say, me go in and vote, my vote don't matter? Your vote matters. But if when you vote, if things you don't like, you don't come out and have a conversation, form a group, form a lobby group, come out and speak, then how you must say your voting matter, but all of us vote matters. And I'm saying 2025, we cannot allow the UNC to come back into office. You cannot, for the sake of your children and your children. Our society will be changed for the worst. Because what they've been doing 5 years, they will do it. So all they're going to stop a steady progress of our government, who for the last 2 consecutive terms has been taking us on a high plateau. We're going up. And we're going to throw that away because Dr. Ronnie arrogant, because he black. That is why I talk about exercising emotional intelligence. You have to like Dr. Ronnie. But when you sit down and you look at the 2 leaders and what one would have done and the other would have done, you must come to the conclusion the only party with a foundation, stability to run this country and always had that ability is the People's National Movement. Dominic, thank you again. Everybody have a blessed day.
Thank you, Jen. Right, so it is 9:03. Let me see. Hello? Hello?
Hello, morning.
Yes, sir. Morning.
Yes, morning, Mr. Romin.
Morning, sir.
Right, nice to have you back, man.
Thank you.
Well, Jenny couldn't say it much better. That is the reason why we have to get up, go out, and do what we have to do your civic duty. Because I sat last night and I heard this woman talk. And all them talking is about election. They have no policy whatsoever in this country. Okay, let me say, Dominic, if God forbid they win election, which they wouldn't, and let's make an assumption, right? And you will assume office tomorrow morning. Do you think that crime going to stop? So I'm trying to understand what this Saparia bat is trying to insinuate in the minds of the people in this country. You understand? You come in on a platform and talk about, the crime rate is so ridiculous under the government and the crime statistics skyrocket. Every time the Rowley and the PNM in government, the crime does skyrocket. Has anyone sit down and think for 1 second why every time the uncivilized national crooks, right, and opposition, that the crime statistics always skyrockets? Anybody sat and analyze that? Why the opposition refused to support any legislation from since 2015 to deal with crime? Gary Griffith said in a joint select committee that there are UNC MPs supporting criminal underworld in this country. You come 8 years later and want to rub shoulders with the same people that you come out and say that they want to have criminal underworld dealings? Really? In 2024? Huh?
And you want me now to show away a progression and progress in the country under this administration to put you back there for what? Because you have the solution to deal with crime. You have the answer to everything. But my answer to you to this morning, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, aka known as the superior bat, right? You see, you and the 18 of Ole on that opposition bench, Ole have a rude awakening coming up next year, God's willing. You see Michaela Pandey, you see that party she coming with? She's going to unseat that woman called Kamla Prasad Bisesa from Superior. You understand what I mean? Just what Pandey, what Kamla and them did Pandey in 2010, and what the PNM did Manning in 2010. Kamla going to face the same similar fate, but it's going to be 15 times worse than Pandey, because you lost 16 elections since 2015, since 2013, sorry, coming forward. And this election coming up in 2025 will make a difference. Them don't know. The writing is already on the wall, you know. But they're just trying to use semantics about crime and crime and crime and crime and crime. Yes, crime does affect everybody. We are not satisfied with the statistics in the country. But at the end of the day, crime is not about murders alone. We have a sitting MP who won $1 million bail. We have a human trafficker in Parliament. We have a EFBD scandalist in Parliament. Live sport scandalist in Parliament. And the list goes on and on and on. You see, they don't have nothing to stick on this administration over the last 9 years. So they tried all kind of avenue to stigmatize the image of the country. Right? I sat and I want to, put your voting finger, and as soon as the election bell ring, we're going to vote out the blight in this country. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who is the blight? It's only half the country in this mess 14 years later. If Ole would have taken pattern when Manning left off in 2010, you think you'd have been in opposition today? Ole was only about self-serving Ole people, and who people look like Ole. You understand? Yeah? 2025 on the horizon. If you think 2015 and 2020 was a joke, this election will be the final nail in the coffin for the UNC. Anytime Michaela Pandey come forward, UNC dead. Somebody asking you, I'm telling you, anytime Michaela Pandey party come forward, that UNC got Kamla running, that circus she running there, but that's not clowns, they're dead. That is why Rodney Child said, he's gonna retire after this election. You are right too, because he have no chance on that Michaela Pandey. You understand? And as a Rushton Parry and Dinesh Avali and the others, who be able to she don't want it. She want people who still manipulate and pull string. You understand? And Dominic, when you touch on that to be taught to the Ghost fiasco with Trevor James and the pretty much Jazz Festival in Tobago with these are ABC areas, we have ATH. I tell you, every time that PNM is out of office, the country doesn't see its way. Tobagonians really know what there was 4-1. So they're seeing what happened in 2010 in Trinidad. So all the things that have put filing. Look what happened now. Look, the Jazz Festival come and cancel after all them years. We ain't saying, okay, it wasn't deemed to be as what you expected, but what mechanisms you all would have put in place in the event to replace such. People just look forward to that time of the year to make a little dollar in the pocket. Or they don't care about all the old Tobagonians, but they want to come and cuss Trinidad and Rowdy and this and that. People, 2025 is on the horizon. Get yourself in a gear. And as Dr. Rowley said, we're going to debunk all the lies with the truth and the facts. And with God's grace, we will be successful and chart the course forward from 2025 going beyond. That will be a good program, Dr. Listening.
Thank you, sir. Right, so it's 9:12, folks. Let me thank you all for joining me this morning. Always a pleasure. Good to be back. And God's willing, we will chat again on Thursday. So many other things to talk about, some of which was suggested by some of the callers. So what I didn't have opportunity to look at, I will try and do so by the course of the next couple of days, and we will chat again on Thursday. Let's see here. Yes, right. So enjoy the rest of your day. As I always say, make it a productive one. Thank you so much, Carol. It was my intention to try and do a live while I was away, but yeah, those folks that I traveled with, oh boy, yeah, they just wanted to do so much in so little time. But it was yeah, so I have some more traveling to do this year, but yeah, next month. Yeah, towards the end of next month. But anyway, thank you all so much again, folks, and we will chat again on Thursday morning, right? So let me see if I can get an opportunity to listen to some of what was said last night. I don't know where I'll find it, but we will see. So thank you so much, Agnes Mondesir, Melka Rock. Thank you all so much, Patty Kutu, Priscilla Holder, Annie Frederick, 29 Super C. Thank you, Roxanne. Yes, Carol, for sure. We had to make that trip. So that's it for me today, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day.